Your wife sold you out. The young woman sitting across from me locked her gaze on mine, her eyes burning with intensity as she spoke each word with deliberate precision. You're insane. I threw the words back at her and stood up to leave. About 20 minutes earlier, I'd gotten a call from an unknown number. A woman's voice on the other end said she had a business proposition for me. She told me she was wearing a black dress and would be waiting at the Daily Grind coffee shop just downstairs from my office by the window. Before I could even ask her name, she hung up. The coffee shop was right there, and I didn't have anything urgent on my plate, so I went downstairs. The Daily Grind was less than 100 yards from my building. As I got close, I saw a woman in a black dress sitting by the window, waving me over. It was her. But the moment I sat down before I had a chance to ask who she was, she dropped that bizarre line on me. My wife sold me out. What kind of sick joke was this? I'm not some government agent with state secrets. What the hell was there to sell out? Don't you want to know why your wife is so desperate to divorce you? The woman asked softly, a mocking smile playing on her lips. Her quiet words hit me like a bolt of lightning. Because my wife was trying to divorce me. And nobody knew. Not my parents, not my in-laws. How could this stranger possibly know? More importantly, her words cut straight to the heart of the matter. My wife's sudden demand for a divorce had come out of nowhere, completely baffling me. I had no idea why she wanted out. Whenever I asked, she'd just say, "We're not compatible anymore. We met 3 years ago, set up by mutual friends. We dated for about a year, got engaged, and then married. We hadn't even hit our 1-year anniversary yet. Sure, we didn't have some epic, sweep-you-off-your-feet romance, but I thought we were both practical people. We're both 30. What's wrong with a stable, quiet life? We'd had a few arguments since we met, but they were minor squabbles, the kind where you don't even raise your voice. So where was this not compatible stuff coming from?" But she was dead serious about the divorce. She made it clear she didn't want anything. No assets, no alimony. She just wanted out fast. Her attitude made me suspect she was seeing someone else, but she acted so transparently. I checked her phone, even secretly followed her for a few days when I took time off work. I found absolutely nothing. Not a single sign of an affair. I was completely stumped. But you can't force someone to stay. Since she was so determined, I knew that even if I refused, it would just end up in a messy court battle. So we went to the courthouse, filed the paperwork, and started the state's mandatory 1-month waiting period. Come to think of it, that month was almost up. We only had a few days left. "Who are you?" I sat back down, frowning at her. I was sure she knew my wife. Otherwise, she couldn't have known the real reason she wanted a divorce. A flicker of surprise crossed her face, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Who I am isn't important," she said coolly. "What's important is that I know why your wife wants to leave you." "And you're going to tell me?" I asked, studying her. I still had no clue who she was or what her game was. "Of course." She snapped her fingers. "Why else would I have tracked you down?" She took out her phone, pulled something up on the screen, and slid it across the table to me. I picked it up. It was queued up to a video. She lifted her chin slightly, a silent command to press play. I hit the button. A street interview-style video started, the kind you see all over TikTok. The interviewer was asking women a simple question. For $1 million, would you leave your boyfriend or husband? One after another, women of all ages laughed and said yes, they'd take the money. It wasn't surprising. These videos are designed for shock value. The interviewer never actually has the money, and the women are all just playing along, treating it like a joke. And then, my wife appeared on screen. Same question. Her answer was the same, too. A bright smile spread across her face as she said yes, clearly thinking it was all in good fun. But this video was different. With the other women, the clip ended there. With my wife, it kept going. The off-screen interviewer invited my wife to a suite at a nearby hotel. The scene changed. On a coffee table in the hotel room sat 10 stacks of $100 bills, arranged in a pyramid. 10 stacks, $100,000 each. $1 million. The interviewer's voice, a woman's, spoke again from off-camera. "We're not joking. There's $1 million in cash, right here. Are you willing to leave your husband?" My wife was frozen, stunned, partly because she'd never seen that much money in her life, and partly because the situation was just so surreal. Honestly, if it were me, I'd be stunned too. I've never seen $1 million in cash, either. "If you're truly willing to leave him, you can take this money," the interviewer continued. "As soon as you divorce your husband, this $1 million is yours." My wife didn't speak for a long time. The camera zoomed in for a close-up, and I could see the intense conflict warring on her face. You have to understand, the interviewer's voice cut in, smooth and persuasive. Earning $1 million and saving $1 million are two completely different things. And damn it, she wasn't wrong. A person making a decent salary, say 80 grand a year, would take over a decade to earn $1 million. But to save $1 million? After taxes, a mortgage, car payments, and just living? Forget about it. For a normal person, that could take a lifetime. After that, the interviewer said nothing more. The video kept rolling, the timer on the screen ticking away, but my wife didn't move. She was so still it was like the video had been paused. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few minutes, she moved. She looked toward the camera and gave a slow, deliberate nod. There's a suitcase under the table. You can use it to carry the money, the interviewer said immediately. My wife walked to the table, opened the suitcase beside it, and began packing the stacks of cash inside, one by one. Soon, all 10 stacks were in the case. She snapped it shut and stood up, and that's where the video ended. The woman across from me reached over and took her phone back. Now do you understand what I mean when I say your wife sold you out? She said, toying with her phone. She sold your marriage. In her eyes, it wasn't even worth $1 million. I didn't answer, studying her instead. I wasn't looking at her face, but at her clothes, her jewelry. She had this video, which meant she was connected to it. I was trying to figure out if that $1 million came from her. If she was the one who funded this whole sick experiment. I'm just a regular guy. I can't tell designer brands just by looking. But the fabric of her dress had a certain quality, the kind that looks expensive even to an untrained eye. She wore minimal jewelry, a platinum chain with a teardrop-shaped green jade pendant, a matching jade bracelet on her left wrist, and on the middle finger of her right hand, a ring with a pale purple gemstone. I had no idea what kind of stone it was. Based on what little I knew, I was 90% sure this woman had paid for that video. But why? To test a married woman's loyalty with a pile of cash? Was it just some sick game for the rich? You're the one behind this, aren't you? I asked after a long silence. Of course, she replied without a hint of hesitation. Her confirmation solidified it for me. The woman sitting in front of me was seriously wealthy. Why? I asked. You'll find out. The woman looked at me with that same mocking expression. That's all for our meeting today. Goodbye. With that, she stood up and walked toward the door. After a few steps, she stopped but didn't turn around. And when I say goodbye, she said over her shoulder, we'll be seeing each other again. Then she was gone. My mind was a tangled mess. I sat there for a few more minutes before leaving the coffee shop. I pulled out a cigarette and lit it, taking a deep drag and slowly exhaling the smoke, trying to force myself to calm down. I hadn't followed her. It would have been pointless. At most, I'd see what kind of car she drove. I was pretty sure she had a nice one. And what would that get me? A license plate number? She'd call me from her phone, so I had her number, but what could a regular guy like me do with that? Run a search on her phone number? Her plates? I didn't have those kinds of connections, and besides, doing that is illegal. If I tried some shady backchannel to look her up, and she found out, she could make my life a living hell. That was a risk not worth taking. There are levels to this world. The rich and the rest of us live on different planets. I was fully aware of that. After years of being a corporate drone, a cog in the machine, you'd have to be an idiot not to understand that much. Talk to her after work. I made up my mind, dropped the cigarette, and ground it out with my shoe before heading back up to the office. That evening, I picked up some takeout on the way home. Even though my wife and I were in the middle of a divorce and sleeping in separate rooms, we still ate dinner together. I know why you want a divorce, I said as she was finishing her meal. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with confusion. A woman came to see me today. I told her everything, from the meeting at the coffee shop to the video she'd shown me. It's true. I took the $1 million, she admitted without hesitation after I finished. I just want to understand what you were thinking, I said, looking her straight in the eye. We were set up, we dated for a year, and we've been married for almost another. 3 years. Do you really feel nothing for me? Our life might be simple, but we're comfortable. We have everything we need. Isn't that good enough? Let me ask you something first, and I want an honest answer, she said, turning the tables. Fine. Ask away. I'll tell you the truth. Using your own question against you. How deep are your feelings for me? Really? She asked, her gaze intense. To say we're deeply in love. No, I can't say that. I answered after a moment of thought. But to say there are no feelings at all? That's not true either. We've basically been living together since the engagement. The truth was, we were the same age, already in our late 20s when we met. We dated for a bit and then got married. There was no profound, earth-shattering love. When you get to the point of being set up on dates, you're mostly just looking for someone suitable to build a life with. My answer seemed to satisfy her. She nodded. My feelings for you are the same as yours for me. They exist, but they don't run that deep. Got it, I nodded. Anything else? Let's say you were in my shoes, she pressed on. You're offered $1 million to leave me. What would you choose? I put down my fork, lit a cigarette, and took a drag. Actually, after that woman showed up, I spent the whole afternoon thinking about that exact question. I paused. You can choose not to believe me, but I'm telling you the truth. I wouldn't take the $1 million and divorce you. She clearly didn't believe me. A look of disdain crossed her face. I know you don't believe me, I continued, but let me explain why I wouldn't do it. Why? She asked immediately. Honestly, if someone put $1 million in cash in front of me, of course I'd be tempted, I said with a wry smile. But I know I'm just an ordinary guy. Before I could finish, she cut me off. Since you've gotten that far, you don't need to say the rest. It's the whole. I'm just a simple man. A quiet life is the true happiness. Things that seem too good to be true usually are speech, right? Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking. I nodded in agreement. And that, she said, is precisely why I would choose the $1 million and divorce you. You're content with mediocrity. I'm not. Your family is average, and so is mine. I don't want to spend the rest of my life like this. I want to move up. Okay, I get it. I understand. I nodded, cutting her off before she could say more. There was nothing else to say. The facts were the facts. My parents were regular working-class people. I wasn't an only child. I had a younger brother about to graduate from college. From the time my wife and I started dating until our wedding, my parents had managed to scrape together about 20 grand. Most of it went to the engagement and wedding. The little that was left over wasn't even enough for a down payment on our house. I had to drain my own savings to cover it. Even now, a chunk of my salary went straight to the mortgage, and the rest was for living expenses. Her family situation was similar to mine. Working-class parents, and she also had a younger brother, though he was a bit older than mine and already had a job. The money my family provided for the wedding, her parents matched with a little extra, and it all went into our new life together. No matter how you looked at it, we were just two average families living an average life. Call me unambitious, call me lazy, but that's just who I am. I thought a quiet, simple life was a good life. So hearing her words wasn't a shock. She complained about my lack of ambition before. We'd even argued about it. I just never realized how deep her obsession with climbing the social ladder ran. Which brought us back to the beginning. Our marriage started with a setup, a practical decision to get married. There was no deep emotional foundation to withstand a test like this. The moment a precise and powerful enough temptation appeared, our marriage was bound to crumble. Thank you for understanding, she said, a wave of relief washing over her. The waiting period is almost over. I know where you stand, and I get it. You don't have to worry about me changing my mind, I said with a small smile. But there's something I want to talk about in more detail. What? She asked. Do you know that woman? I asked immediately. No. She shook her head. Her answer made me frown. I still couldn't figure out what that woman's motive was. Seeing my expression, my wife frowned too. What? You don't know her either? I have no idea who she is, I said, shrugging helplessly. I thought she was your ex-girlfriend or something, my wife said, stunned. Hang on. Let's make sure we're talking about the same person. I described the woman from the coffee shop. That's her, she confirmed. When they filmed that video, she was there just off camera. She never showed her face or said a word. This is so weird, I said, baffled. What is she trying to do? Her goal in giving me the $1 million was to make me leave you. So whatever this is, it's about you, not me, my wife reasoned. Makes sense, I nodded. Well, regardless of her motives, let me ask you something. The video she showed me ended right after you packed the money and stood up. What happened next? I added, she couldn't have just let you walk out with $1 million, right? Her goal was for us to get divorced. If you just took the money without fulfilling that, it would be a total waste for her. I smiled slightly. Did you actually get to keep the $1 million? I did, she said, her answer firm. I took the suitcase straight to the bank and deposited it into my account. Whoa, I said, genuinely surprised. She really gave it to you? Just like that? Not exactly, she said, shaking her head. You thought of the same thing she did. She had me write her an IOU. Right now, the $1 million is technically a loan from her. Once I show her our divorce certificate, she'll give me the IOU back. I was dumbfounded. Seriously? Are you kidding me? I said, at a loss for words. You wrote an IOU. She has it. She could demand that money back at any time. What happens if we get divorced and she refuses to give you the IOU? I'm not an idiot. I thought of all that, my wife said coolly. When she suggested the IOU, my first reaction was the exact same as yours, and I told her so. Since she'd written the note, it was obvious the woman had managed to convince her. I couldn't help but ask, so what did she say? She said if I could think of a better, more secure way to do it, she'd go with my plan, my wife replied. But I couldn't think of anything. And you just wrote her the IOU? I asked, astonished. So what if what I said happens? We divorce, and she comes after you for the money, holding that IOU over your head. What's your plan then? Then I'll just give her the money back, she said, her answer leaving me speechless. My stunned silence seemed to be exactly what she expected. Either way, I don't lose anything, do I? She added. Though it was a question, it was really her justification. What she meant was, she had the million. She'd sign the IOU. If she got divorced, showed the woman the certificate, and the woman refused to return the IOU, she'd just give the money back and get her note. To her, there was no real loss. What about our marriage? I asked quietly, my voice barely a whisper. Isn't that a loss? We'll just get married again. What's the big deal? She said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. So that's what she was thinking. I nodded slowly, saying nothing more. We may have gotten married out of practicality, our love not particularly deep, but I still believed marriage wasn't a game. Even if I had gotten married because I was getting older and my family was pressuring me, I had genuinely intended to spend the rest of my life with her. You're gambling, I said after a long silence. You're gambling on her keeping her word. You're gambling on human nature. That's right, she said without a moment's hesitation. I'm gambling. Well, I hope you hit the jackpot. I stood up and smiled. It's getting late. Let's get some sleep. With that, I went to my room. A few days later, our mandatory waiting period ended. My wife and I went to the courthouse and got our divorce certificate, officially ending our marriage of less than a year. She immediately contacted the woman. I went to work. Whether the woman would keep her promise, whether my wife, no, my ex-wife, would get to keep that $1 million, I couldn't have cared less. The only question that still bothered me was, who was that woman? And why was she doing all this? My ex-wife was right. She paid her to divorce me, so this was all about me. But I wasn't in a hurry to find out. The woman had said we would meet again. I believed the truth would come out eventually. Sure enough, that afternoon, I got a call from her. She was waiting for me at the same coffee shop downstairs, at the same table. I walked in, sat down across from her, and said flatly, "Congratulations. You got what you wanted. My wife and I are divorced." She called me this morning to set up a meeting, the woman said, taking a delicate sip of her coffee. "But I pushed it to tomorrow. I want to see you first." "Well, you see me now." I spread my hands, affecting an air of indifference. "I hope my current state meets your satisfaction." "It does. But it's not quite perfect yet," she said coolly. "I didn't expect your feelings for your wife to be so shallow. If you two had been deeply in love, I think I would have been much more satisfied. Your goal is achieved. Can you finally tell me why you did this?" I asked, looking her straight in the eye, asking the question I most wanted an answer to. "We don't even know each other." "David Miller," she interrupted. "It seems you really don't remember me. Look at me. Take a good look and think hard about who I am." I stared at her, searching my memory, but came up completely blank. I shook my head. "I honestly don't remember you. Let me give you a hint. Your college graduation. Your dorm's last get-together. It wasn't just you guys. You had a mixer with a girls' dorm," she said calmly. "I was there, and you and I had an interaction." "College graduation? That was years ago." I followed her prompt, trying to recall, but I couldn't place her. I couldn't remember which girl at that party was her, let alone one I'd interacted with. Hell, in my 4 years of college, my family was so broke they could barely cover my living expenses. I never had money to date anyone. My interactions with women were few and far between. Still, I couldn't remember her at all. "I'm sorry, I really can't place you," I said truthfully. My inability to remember seemed to enrage her. Her chest heaved as she breathed heavily. "Your roommate, Kevin, tried to set us up. In front of everyone, you said you were holding out for a sugar mama and that I wasn't your type. Do you remember now?" Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. The memory surfaced. It was true. At our dorm's final party, my roommate Kevin had invited his girlfriend and her entire dorm to join us. Halfway through the night, he tried to introduce me to one of his girlfriend's roommates. And I'd said exactly that. I was holding out for a sugar mama, and she wasn't my type. The reason I'd said it was to politely decline in a joking way. I knew that after graduation, I wouldn't be staying in our college town. I was moving back home. But I could not, for the life of me, connect the girl from that night with the woman sitting in front of me now. "So, it was you," I said, shaking my head slightly. "I'm sorry. I honestly can't connect the person you are now with the person you were back then. It's been so many years. You've changed so much." "As long as you remember," she said, her voice cold as ice. "I remember," I said, "but what I want to know is, you're doing all this just because I jokingly turned down Kevin's offer all those years ago?" I asked with a frown. "A joke." Her face grew darker. "Do you have any idea how humiliated I was? Do you know what was behind Kevin trying to set us up?" "No," I said immediately. "It was my courage," she said, her voice heavy. "My family wasn't well off. I spent all 4 years of college focused on my studies. I never dated. I knew about you through Kevin, and I thought we were similar, both hardworking, both from similar backgrounds. So at that last party, I worked up all my courage and asked Kevin to introduce us. I had no idea there was that much backstory to Kevin's little matchmaking attempt. I didn't know what to say. Was this a case of one bad experience scarring someone for life? No. Looking at her now, she wasn't shy at all. Maybe it was more like a scar that never healed. So what you're doing now? This is revenge. I asked, finding it hard to believe. That's right. This is revenge, she said with a cold laugh. And you think this is the end? Let me tell you something. I'm here to evaluate a business partnership. The company I'm evaluating is yours. I had no idea I'd run into you again. It's such a coincidence. Now, I'm going to go through with the partnership, but I'll be adding one extra condition. They have to fire you. I'm not just going to destroy your marriage. I'm going to destroy your career, too. It seems that rejection really did a number on you. Left a deep wound, I said, shaking my head. Do whatever you want. I'll just wait for the company to fire me. This world is full of all kinds of people. What I considered a harmless, joking refusal, she saw as a deep, personal insult. How can you even argue with that? If anything, she was now a bona fide rich woman, doing far better than me. Yet she was carrying this deep-seated grudge, one she felt she could only heal by ruining my life. It actually made me feel like my own unambitious, slacker mentality was a blessing. I didn't have all these hang-ups. My life felt simpler, more free. Is it your attitude? She asked, frowning at me. What other attitude should I have? I shot back. What? You want me to apologize to you? Shouldn't you apologize? She countered. What the hell would I apologize for? I said, my patience wearing thin. What I said back then was a joke to get out of setup. I don't think I did anything wrong. The pain you felt was because you were too sensitive. You hurt yourself. I did nothing wrong, so I won't be apologizing. And another thing, I said, you're a real deal wealthy woman now. So what? You're hoping to ruin my life so completely that I come crawling back to you, begging to be your boy toy? Is it the only way you'll feel truly satisfied? I let out a small laugh. If that's what you're thinking, you can forget it. I'm in my 30s. I've been a corporate drone for years. I've made my peace with my place in the world. A simple, quiet life is good enough for me. Hearing this, a complex expression flickered across her face. I couldn't tell if I'd actually hit the nail on the head. I'm leaving, I said, tossing the words onto the table and walking out of the coffee shop. That was enough for one day. I knew why she did it, and that was all I needed. As for whether she'd used the business deal to get me fired, that was her business. I was just a slacker. It didn't matter to me one way or the other. The next afternoon, I came home from work to find my ex-wife's packed suitcase open on the floor again. I thought you were packing to move out, I said as she came out of the bedroom. She picked up a few pieces of clothing from the suitcase, about to hang them back in the closet. I lost the bet, she said. She never planned to let me keep the $1 million. I met with her today, showed her the divorce certificate, and she told me flat out that she wouldn't give me the IOU. She gave me an account number and said she'd only return the IOU after I transferred the $1 million back. So, did you give her the money? Did you get the IOU back? I asked with a smile. Yeah, she nodded. We're going to remarry tomorrow. Hearing her words, I just shook my head. I walked over, took the clothes from her hands, and placed them back in the suitcase. David, what are you doing? She demanded, glaring at me. We're divorced, I said calmly. According to the agreement, you left with nothing. Pack your things and go. You're not going to remarry me? She asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. I'm sorry, I said, my voice even. While you were betting on whether that woman would keep her word, betting on her character, you were also betting on mine. You just never considered that part, just like you thought divorcing me came with no losses for you. I went into the bedroom, took the clothes she had rehung in the closet, and put them back in her suitcase, one by one. What you lost wasn't just the $1 million, and it wasn't just your bet on her character. It was also your bet on me, I said quietly. When we first talked about this, I told you I understood your decision. I hope you can understand mine. It's crystal clear to me now that we want different things out of life. Even if there were some feelings between us, they weren't strong enough to survive a test. So, from now on, I'll go on being a slacker, and you can go chase your ambitions. Let's not get in each other's way anymore. You've made up your mind? She asked, her voice trembling. Even though our bond wasn't that deep, she knew me well enough. She knew that when I spoke this calmly, my decision was final. Yes. I gave her a firm nod. Give me some time. I need to find a place, she said, slowly closing her eyes. Fine. 3 days max, I said, walking toward the door. I won't be back during that time. I hope that when I return, there won't be a single trace of you left in this house. With that, I walked out and found a cheap motel near my office to stay in. 3 days later, I came home. All my ex-wife's things were gone. The house was scrubbed clean of any sign she had ever lived there. This was for the best. Two people with completely different philosophies on life, forcing themselves to be together is just a form of mutual torture. Before this happened, I'd never thought about it. But afterward, I gave it a lot of thought, and my final decision was not to remarry her. It was better to let each other go, to let each of us live the life we truly wanted. For a while after that, my life was quiet. The woman's threat to have me fired never materialized. Then one day, the company announced a new partnership with an out-of-state corporation. I was assigned to the project team, and with the new role came a promotion and a raise. She hadn't continued her revenge. She hadn't gotten me fired. Instead, through this partnership, she'd inadvertently gotten me a promotion. I didn't know if it was her way of compensating me for what she'd done, but I knew one thing. Since she had done this, the scar in her heart must have finally faded. Or maybe, just maybe, she had finally decided to let herself go.